With Halloween just 2 days away, many are getting into the spooky spirit. But what's humans' fascination with Halloween and horror? To answer some of these questions, Gary Leonard, professor of literature and film at the University of Toronto, joins us. Welcome to Global News, Gary.
Yes, hi, Jaden. Nice to be here.
Haunted houses, horror films, bone-chilling books. Why are humans so excited to get spooked?
Well, I think the biggest point to make is that a horror movie scares you a lot, but it's contained in the sense that it's only an hour and a half, but also the narrative contains it. So there's a monster, or there's something terrible in the house. Some ghost is coming back for revenge, but there's typically one or two people who will definitely survive. So what most people expect going into a horror movie is they want to be scared, and then they want to have a resolution. And in terms of modern life, horror movies are by far the most popular with teenagers, including my own teenager, because it gives what we call an objective correlative to modern day anxiety. So you might be anxious for about a midterm, let's say, something that's not that horrific, but anxiety can feel pretty scary, even when it's like, will I pass my class or not? So you go to the horror movie, they feature teenagers. They go to the haunted house, they get together. Some die because they make a mistake, and somehow there's a perseverance. So when we watch the movie, we tend to pick a character that we hope will make it, although there'll be an extra scare if the person we've decided is going to make it meets their end. And a lot of horror movies try and trick us nowadays to keep it going. But we're looking for that survivor so that we can imagine surviving our own anxieties. And in the end, it's just a midterm, or it's something that you can survive.
Now, you've actually found a correlation between horror and economics, timely right now because we can't stop talking about the cost of living, inflation. Tell us about that link.
Yes. So I wrote a book called Monsters and Mortgages. Well, actually, that's a chapter in my book on modern genres and modern living. And, economics has become so what we call distantiated. In other words, something happens on the other side of the globe, and you're paying $20 more for gas. Had nothing to do with any of this. Or your house, which you were thinking about selling, is worth about $100,000 less than it was last week. When you put the personal in there, it almost doesn't make sense. So we're all a little nervous about the global economic system. And so a lot of movies, Psycho is the most famous example, that we all know Norman Bates and his issues with his mother. But one of the details that you can skip is it all begins that they moved the highway. The Bates Hotel used to be a hotel that made money. They moved the highway and it's stranded. He can't sell it. Nobody wants a hotel that's not on the highway anymore. And not everyone is going to become Norman Bates when that happens, but there is, he famously says 13 rooms, 13 vacancies. He's stuck, and you see that if you start to look for it, you'll see economic issues, even in something like The Shining, that Jack Nicholson is looking for a place to stay for free for 3 months. He's pretty much been fired from his job. And it's not clear. He says he's going to write the greatest novel ever, and of course isn't and doesn't.
Now, before we let you go, Gary, I have to ask, we've been talking about Psycho, The Shining. Your favorite horror film?
I think it is Psycho, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, and partly because it's incredibly crafted, and also because it essentially invented the really modern horror movie. What Hitchcock did that hadn't really been done is he took it out of the spooky castles or the swamp, and he brought it into ordinary people, ordinary houses. A woman driving, it's raining, she sees a hotel, there's someone there, he seems nice enough. So that launched literally hundreds of movies ever since, things like Nightmare on Elm Street. So the horror movie has come to Main Street. It's come to the normal domestic setting. And that makes it much more psychological and interesting, that you no longer see monsters lumbering toward you from far away. They could be standing next to you.
Right.
Sorry if that's too spooky.
Well, literature and film professor Gary Leonard with us today. Gary, thanks so much for this, and have a happy Halloween.
You too. Nice talking to you, Jaden.